Welcome back, viewers at home. You're about to have an amazing conversation between myself and the dynamic duo who goes by the name, or rather, who are behind the NucleoCell Nutrition, Rochell Petersen, as well as Rentia Tukker. And they are quite committed health entrepreneurs. They have taken the traditional conversation around wellness to a whole new level. How and why? Let's find out more. Good evening, ladies, and thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Good evening, Maimuna. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys for joining me tonight. And I think we're talking about something quite new. But before we get to other parts of this beautiful conversation, I'd like for you to give us an overview in understanding what NucleoCell is about, and most importantly, what makes it different from other wellness brands.
NucleoCell Nutrition is a South African company registered in 2015, and through genetic research, I came across Dr. Petersen, who's the Swiss immunologist who did all the research for many years and then discovered the formulation of the specific nucleotides that we work with.
Okay, wow, that is interesting.
Yeah.
And now with that being said, like, what really makes it different from other? Because the thing is, we're trying to build that, or rather take away that confusion, because there's so much on the market, so much on the shelves. And, people tend to stick with what they have. Why fix it when it's not broken mentality? And now when they're seeing this, NucleoCell Nutrition, they're like, okay, why should I take it? What makes it so different from others or what I'm currently using? How would you best describe it tonight to our viewers and myself tonight?
I think, the best way to describe it is that nucleotides are really the building blocks of your DNA. It is how at the most fundamental level, which is actually your DNA. Rentia is being very modest and very humble.
I can tell, very demure.
She's a geneticist as well, and her amazing work that she does has actually exposed her to Dr. Kupel that she has mentioned. And the beauty about it is because it actually dealt with health on such a fundamental level. There is nothing on the South African market that actually does that. And I got passionate. We met over 6 years ago, 6 years ago. And I remember the first time I actually heard about NucleoCell, and I was like, there is nothing like this in South Africa. And I started using the product as well. I used to be huge. But what the product did is it literally sorted out my gut. And now we're even doing a physical challenge as well, which is the Inside Out journey, which we will deal with.
Definitely, because I feel like you're about to spill all
Yes.
these. But I think one question I'm quite intrigued is the mission. It says beyond surface level wellness. Because we know at times we look at some of these, be it a supplement, be it a cream, be it or whatever, and you find out that it's not actually helping you. And I think this is what I found out through individuals who have eczema, to say some of the things that they're taking are not actually helping the eczema. They're just making things worse. And I think in this context, it's quite interesting to know that, with your product, it's not just on like a surface level. It goes deeper than that. It's working at a cellular level. With that being said, what does that mean for an average person like myself who is not in the medical field and was like, what does this mean? Because there's DNA being mentioned and now my cellular cells. How do you best describe this?
I'll ask Rochelle to chip in if I get too technical and scientific.
All right.
So within every human cell, you have 46 chromosomes.
Okay.
So 23 are donated via your father, the sperm, and 23 from your mother. So a chromosome is just the unique way in which our DNA, our genetic material, is packaged. And nucleotides are the basic building blocks of that genetic material.
Oh, wow.
And for cellular division to take place, any growth, any organ that needs to be replaced, our gut has the fastest cell turnover in our bodies and is replaced every 3 to 5 days, but we'll go into much more detail. So the cellular turnover, let's start at the gut, is incredibly high.
Yeah.
And when a cell divides, the mother cell is the original cell.
Yeah.
The DNA needs to duplicate. So there needs to be an exact copy, accurately made. And you need nucleotides to physically duplicate the DNA, which is a double helix that protects the DNA in the nucleus of the cell. And then once the DNA has duplicated, the cell splits. And that is then two daughter cells which can go on and be used in the body wherever they are needed. So for proper cellular division, whether it be after a disease, wound healing, where a wound needs to close up,
Yeah.
your immune system, where the white blood cells need to fight all the germs, the bacteria in our gut also need nucleotides because they also have cells and DNA. And the nucleotides are also involved in most of the biological processes in our body, whether it's ATP and GTP, which are the energy carrying molecules, they are also nucleotides. They're instruction molecules in the shape of mRNA, which is messenger RNA. We'll talk about that in more detail. So they are just so fundamental to health on a cellular level. If your cells are healthy, your organs are healthy, you'll have healthy organ systems, and your whole body will function at an optimal level.
Rochelle?
You know, I just think that one of the most beautiful things that attracted me to NucleoCell, and I just have to. So Rentia spoke about DNA, right? That we get our DNA from our mom and our dad.
Yeah.
So I like always how she explains it, the size of your nose, the size of your ears, your complexion, how you
thumbprint.
smell, your thumbprint. It's so uniquely to you. And when I say that, or when we say that NucleoCell is at the fundamental level, what these nucleotides do is feed the you, so that you can be the best you that you were created to be, to give that expression to it. And there's nothing on the market that actually does that. So if I am an athlete, so remember I said I used to be very big.
Yeah.
So now I'm much smaller because my gut is sorted out.
Yeah.
So now I'm taking the physical challenge. Why? Because the nucleotides help me recover. So when you start seeing my workouts online, you'll see I recover very, very easily. But if being athletic is in the core of my DNA, nucleotides will help me express that very much, so much better. Right, that is the science.
Nucleotide is the girl she thinks she is. I think I'm loving her. She's like the superhero I always needed, but just didn't know her in that sense. Because now when you're mentioning some of these things, it's like, you know, earlier on in introducing the conversation, I was like, we're living a different lifestyle where everything is just like, you know, normalized to say, well, you're growing old, you're going to feel the aches and getting all this gluten intolerance and gut issues that we experience. But now with this conversation, it's like, no, we've been getting it because we're missing the important goal, which is nucleotides.
Absolutely.
And for someone who missed how, Rochelle, you introduced nucleotides and how you're expressing it now, how would you help me in understanding it so I'm able to tell my grandmother, if not my mother, or if not my dad, or anyone in the family to say, you need this? Because you know with the elderly people, it's like, with me, young generation, I can just Google it and sit and like be intrigued and further intrigued. But with old people, it's like, okay, but why do I need it? Do I have to go to the hospital? Do I have to have insurance? All these conversations will come up. But can you tell me a bit more on nucleotides itself and why they're so important? As you mentioned earlier on, it enhances who you are. But I need a repeat of that.
Ooh, okay. Right, so Rentia spoke to you about that it is how your DNA is formed and it actually requires nucleotides.
Yeah.
I need you to understand in one cell, there is over 3 billion nucleotides.
No way.
Over 3 billion. And please, you can go and Google this. You will find all of that. There's over 3 billion nucleotides in one of your cells.
Pairs.
Yeah,
Because the
so
DNA
it's pairs.
is
So
a
it's,
double helix. So
Yeah.
double that.
so it's actually over 6 billion. Right. So she also spoke about the gut, that your gut cells regenerate between every 3 to 5 days. Your gut, if you pack it out cell by cell, is actually half the size of a tennis court. Now I need you to picture this. Half the size of a tennis court needs to be replaced between every 3 to 5 days. Multiply that by 6 billion nucleotides. Then take into consideration the nutritional value of the food that we are getting. So we're not getting nucleotides. to get, just out of interest, to get the amount of nucleotides that your body requires on a daily basis, you're going to have to eat 45 kilograms of broccoli.
Raw broccoli.
Yes, not
Raw.
boiled, raw broccoli.
Okay.
Yes.
And broccoli and cauliflower happen to be the vegetables. If you think about them, they're flowers
Yeah.
that are still forming.
Yeah.
So there's lots of cellular development and cells being built. There's lots of nucleotides.
This is really inspiring.
Mushrooms are high in nucleotides. And the best source of nucleotides is offal. Liver, kidney, gut.
Tribe.
Oh.
Tribe.
Oh yeah, and we are so like, you know, we're coming back from a tradition of slaughtering as Muslims, and we're like, you know what, some of us are looking forward to eating the tribe that we usually eat.
And you do.
And with that being said, you know, funny enough, a lot of diets, they used to make, you know, cauliflower rice and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, what are you doing? There's rice already, you don't need that. And now with you saying that, it really shows the importance of it. Now for someone who, you know, understands things with the gloomer picture, what are some of the effects of not really replacing or replenishing your nucleotides? What does that look like? What does that gut or that body look like in that
That's
sense?
a very good question. So in our gut, we have tight junctions. So the cells are packed next to each other.
Yeah.
And you've heard of leaky gut? Because there's not enough cell turnover,
Yeah.
those junctions become loose. And leaky gut is where foreign particles, undigested protein, end up into the lymph and into the bloodstream. And the body tags these as foreign because they're not properly digested. And that leads to a lot of autoimmune issues and the immunity fighting tissue that is actually the own body. And then that gives rise to autoimmune problems. So that would be the end of starting with not enough nucleotides in a diet, not having proper cell turnover where tissue needs to be replaced.
Yeah. Now, for someone who's going to be a new me and a new viewer tonight who is going to go to the stores, hopefully it's in the stores, and run and get themselves the supplements, what does this mean now to me incorporating this in my daily routine, in consuming the product itself, and, you know, what am I looking forward to?
All right, so I'm sitting here, and this is how we teamed up together.
Yeah.
We teamed up because of the effect that it actually has had on my life.
Wow.
I think for me, one of the most, there's a couple of businesses that I'm involved in.
Yeah.
And you know, when you are chasing your dreams, there is a you that you need to become that is going to require you to actualize those dreams. And it required a healthier me. There's a couple of businesses in various different fields. Some are in agriculture, some are in marketing. So it requires a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
And the first things that I discovered in the first 2 weeks of using it is there's a mental clarity that comes to you. The way I process the stressful environment that I work in and that I operate in, I think for me that was one of the most greatest things. The other thing is in terms of the workouts, and like I said, if you follow us on NucleoCell Nutrition on all the platforms, you'll start seeing those workouts. Is the recovery time. A lot of people that have weight issues don't go to the gym because after the first session you have that debilitating pain, your muscles are stiff, all of that. But this has actually kept me disciplined in my workouts because my muscles recover faster. Yes, so
Wow.
that is the physical impact that it has had.
No, I'm
in
really
my
shocked
life.
by this because I know, like, going to the gym after a while, you always think about the pain and
Yes.
the stiffness of having
And the
to get out of
recovery.
bed. And it's quite, like, hearing how it helps you. Well, if you're not getting the supplement, I don't know, you're not taking life seriously.
And we can back it up with proper science.
Science, yes.
And that is the beauty to me that really appealed about another supplement. There's just incredible amounts of research and clinical studies, what you refer to as the stress levels that you can deal better with better clarity.
Yes.
It starts in the gut as your first brain with more nerve endings than the actual brain. So once you fix your gut, you start fixing your dopamine and your serotonin levels, which are excreted by some of the bacteria that we should have in our guts, which we don't have enough of. Then in terms of recovery, with more red blood cells, we've heard about hemoglobin in red blood cells. That's the oxygen carrying molecules. If you have more healthier red blood cells, you have more oxygen carrying capacity. And you can actually train harder for longer without going into the anaerobic state because there's more oxygen around. There's high levels of ATP and GTP, which is the actual energy carrying molecules. So it just optimizes the whole way in which your body functions on a cellular, molecular level to be a healthier you.
Yeah. So now with that being said, I think my closing question would be, you know, nucleotides seem to play a very crucial role, but sadly, unfortunately, they relatively seem to be quite, you know, unknown in that sense. And, you know, not much conversation within the mainstream nutrition is being said or had about it. Why do you think that's the case?
Our research is getting better and better. And where we always looked at macromolecules, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats,
Yeah.
then we realized, oh, but there's actually more. Let's look at micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. And we started with vitamin A to K, and then realized, but there isn't actually a vitamin G. Let's give it another name, and it's one of the B vitamins. So that's how all the vitamins were given their names. Vita, amines, as part of amino acids in protein. So it's just a level down where we can look finer and establish the links of a symptom is seen because of a shortage somewhere, and that leads to dis-ease. So by just putting a drug into your system, you block the symptom, but you don't fix the fundamental problem. And that's where nucleotides address on a micronutrient level. So we call them the conditionally essential micronutrients, but they are actually essential. We all do need them.
They are, and unfortunately, we have run out of time. But ladies, thank you so much, you know, for coming in and giving us, you know, plugging us as our generation, like to say. Because honestly, like I think it has given me a different perspective. Because I'm someone who has gut issues, lactose intolerant. Now I'm on a gluten intolerant range, and it's like I don't like it because I love food. And it's like, why do I have to cut out my good food to sort of, you know, feel quite comfortable with my gut and myself at that? And I'm looking forward to our conversation again next week as we touch more on gut as well as immune health. Because, I mean, it is the winter season, and a lot of times we are told, eat oranges, do this, do that, and I think it would be nice for us to actually get the right and correct, non-confusing solution to our gut as well as immune health. But thank you so much for joining me tonight.
It is a huge pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Viewers at home, that was a lovely conversation between myself and the dynamic duo. Now, if you enjoyed this conversation, which I know you did, make sure you do not miss it again next week, same place here on Prime Live, because we were talking all things gut and immune health and how, you know, this product will assist you in really becoming your great self. I mean, I'm sure you're stressed at work, you're stressed at home, you're stressed everywhere, and I think this is the solution you need. So that was my conversation between myself and Rochell Petersen, as well as Rentia Tukker, who are the health entrepreneurs in creating this amazing NucleoCell Nutrition. But for now, we're going to head over to a net break. See you just after that.